Python is a multi-purpose programming language commonly used by data scientists and data professionals. So companies all over the world use Python to harvest insight from their data set and gain a competitive advantage against other companies or against their competitor. So welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Excel Island, where the goal and objective is to learn and master Python over the next 100 days. Today is day 15. We started learning Python over a couple of live streams ago, which is from day one. So if you really want to make sense of what we will be learning today, I encourage you to start from day one. If you've been with me all the way from day one, well done, you are the real MVP. So we'll just continue from where we stopped on day 14. And we're actually on the second course out of 9 courses in this whole Python for data analyst career track, the DataCamp platform. So also all the CSV files data sets that I'll be using to connect to Jupyter Notebook is already linked under the YouTube description. So do make sure to download those files and practice along with me. So without further ado, welcome back to the channel and welcome to day 15. Let's jump back to learning. I hope to see you on day 16 where we'll be doing our first case study. So we're going to be using all what we've learned from day one in a real world project or case study, anyone you want to call it. I hope to see you on day 16. We could actually spend a couple of lives, probably 2 or 3 days on the project, making sure we understand the project we are doing. It will be a guided project. So it will be guided, is a real guided project on the DataCamp platform. So it will be a full guided project. So we know what we are doing and we know the steps to take when it comes to building projects in Python. Without further ado, let's jump back to learning. So I'll just log into my DataCamp platform real quick here, so I can show you what it actually looks like. So from day one, we got introduced to Python. We learned all about data types, variables, and how to create variables in Python. On day two, let me just show you real quick. If I go to the data analysis in Python career track, when I started this one way of learning, it actually started with data analysis in SQL. You can see we've completed this data analysis in SQL career track. You can catch that in the live stream tab on the channel. So we also did data analysis in Power BI for this ran for 100 days period, because SQL is a very highly technical knowledge that you need to understand very well. We also did this for 79 days, close to 70 days or 80 days. Then we started this data analysis in Python. So this all we'll be learning for this year 2024. So I'll be sharing my portfolio projects ideas with you for each tool as we move along. So if I click on the data analysis in Python real quick here, you can see all what we've covered so far. The rain is falling, but I think my network is doing pretty well. Because we've covered introduction to Python, where we look at Python basics. That is just data types and variables in Python. We covered Python lists. We learned all about lists in Python. Then we actually moved to functions and packages in Python. Then we worked with our first function in Python, which is the NumPy package in Python. So that's what we covered on this introduction to Python. So we are actually on this intermediate Python with almost through with the whole contents of the course. We are 78% through the whole contents. So the first thing we looked at here is the matplotlib for data visualization. I will learn all about creating dictionaries and pandas, and how to use dictionaries and pandas for data frames on projects. So we also look at control flow, logic and filtering in Python, which is the if else, if elif, how to build control flows in Python. Then we move to loops. So this is where we are. We're actually on loops. If I show you what it looks like real quick, as we're actually still on loops, where we covered while loop or for loop, and all the we just have to understand loops in Python. Then we looked at how to use the loop knowledge in on dictionary, on numpy array, on data structure. So we are looking at how to use loops on data store, which is actual data files, like probably CSV files in that you connect to Python, how to use loops on those type of files. So this is the last part we want to look at today. We've covered this from while loop all the way to loop over numpy array, probably day 12, 13, and 14, if I'm not mistaken. So we actually use 3 days to cover this content, and that is because the content are actually highly technical. I need to take it at at a very low pace. You don't want to rush the content. and not practice it. So the whole idea is to practice it with a lot of practice. So that's the whole idea here. I'll just continue from the course, but before I continue, let me launch my Jupyter notebook, those files that we've been working with so far. So if you want to have access to the data set, just follow the link under the YouTube description. So you're going to download those files also yourself. Okay, I'll just go to my download parts, DataCamp resources, then I'll move to Python for data analysis. Then under my data sets, we are on intermediate Python. Then we have our loops in Python. Yep. Because we've covered a lot here. If I open the loops in Python, you can see all what we've done so far. You can see from while loop, then we'll move to for loop. Then from there, we use loop over a dictionary. We also use loops on a dictionary. You can see they also use loop over a numpy array. You can see. So we did all of this on the last live stream, which is looping in Python. That is a lot of data set there. You can see. We actually combine two different columns. So this thing you're actually looking at here is we actually combine two different columns to a single column in Python. You can see. So we combine two different columns that we pick from this height and width column. We probably what we call append here. It's like appending in Power BI or Excel. We appended the two columns together into a single column. So we actually did that in Python using what? Using the loop knowledge we learned from the content on it. So we actually use this ndata function to do that. So you can catch all of that on the 14 live stream. So I'll just continue from here. So let's continue the chapter and see how we can actually loop over data structure, which is a standard data frame, like CSV files, I guess. So let's continue the chapter. I'll just launch. Why that is still coming up? Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's complete this part of the knowledge. So this is what we covered on day 14, where we actually looked at dictionaries, numpy arrays, and practical application of loops on dictionaries, and how to apply loops on numpy array. Let's click on got it and let's focus on this.
There's one killer data structure out there that we haven't covered up to now when it comes to looping, the pandas data frame. Let's go over the data on the BRICS countries one last time. These lines of code import it from the CSV file, brics.csv. You can see its contents on the top right here, so you can follow along. If a pandas data frame were to function the same way as a 2D NumPy array, then maybe a basic for loop like this to print out each row could work. Let's see what the output is. Well, this was rather unexpected. You simply got the column names. Also interesting, but not exactly what we want. In pandas, you have to mention explicitly that you want to iterate over the rows. You do this by calling the iterRows method on the BRICS data frame, thus specifying another sequence. The iterRows method looks at the data frame and on each iteration generates two pieces of data, the label of the row and then the actual data in the row as a pandas series. Let's change the rest of the for loop to reflect this change. We store the row label as lab and the row data as row. To understand what's happening, let's print lab and row separately inside the for loop. In the first iteration, lab is BR and row is this entire pandas series. Because this row variable on each iteration is a series, you can easily select additional information from it using the subsetting techniques you learned about earlier. Suppose
Hold on a minute. My screen just went blank just right now. Probably because I updated my BIOS a couple of days ago. So let's wait for it to come back up. Okay. It's actually my web browser that is acting up. I think it's the web browser. It's the Chrome web browser acting up there. My other browsers are working fine. Okay, let me just quickly troubleshoot that. What can we do? Okay. Okay, I think we are back. I have no idea why that just went off. Where were we?
Actual data in the row as a pandas series. Let's change the rest of the for loop to reflect this change. We store the row label as lab and the row data as row. To understand what's happening, let's print lab and row separately inside the for loop. In the first iteration, lab is BR and row is this entire pandas series. Because this row variable on each iteration is a series, you can easily select additional information from it using the subsetting techniques you learned about earlier. Suppose you only want to print out the capital on each iteration. Let's change the print statement as follows, printing the label and the capital together. You can take things further than simple printouts though. Let's add a new column to the bricks data frame named name length, containing the number of characters in the country's name. To do this, we'll need to blend together a lot of the things we've learned. It's pretty advanced stuff, so try to stay with me here. The specification of the for loop can be the same because we'll need both the row label and the row data. Next, we can calculate the length of each country name by selecting the country column from row and then passing it to the len function that determines the number of characters in a string. Finally, we'll have to add this new information to a new column, name length, at the appropriate location. I use loc here, which is label-based. To see whether we coded things correctly, I'm adding a printout of bricks after the for loop, so without indentation. Running this script shows that it worked. There's a new column in there with the length of the country names. Nice, but are not especially efficient because you're creating a series object on every iteration. For this small data frame, that doesn't matter. But if you're doing funky stuff on a ginormous data set, this loss in efficiency can become problematic. A better approach, if you want to calculate an entire data frame column by applying a function on a particular column in an element-wise fashion, is apply. In this case, you don't even need a for loop. This is how it's done. Basically, you're selecting the country column from the bricks data frame, and then on this column, you apply the len function. Apply calls the len function with each country name as input and produces a new array that you can easily store as a new column, name length. This is way more efficient and also easier to read, if you ask me. So, I've told you how to iterate data frames with a for loop, and how to do vectorized operations with the apply function. These skills will become very useful once you start transforming your own data sets. Get straight to it in the exercises, and I'll see you back here for your awesome capstone project where you'll do some hacker statistics.
Yep, I look forward to the hacker statistics. But this loop on data frame is a little bit technical, so we have to pay attention here. Like pretty good attention. So I have my Anaconda Navigator launch. Let me just run these codes one more time. Let's see. Okay. Check all my code are working fine now. Okay. So we are here now. Now let's follow the instruction and see how we can use the knowledge of for loop on pandas, on data frame rather. Yes, pandas data frame. So loop over data frame. So iterating over a pandas data frame is typically done with the itRows function. So to have the itRow method, which is still a function. So used in a for loop. Every observation is iterated over, and on every iteration, the row label and actual row contents are available. So for lab, row in bricks.itRows function, then under the for loop, you mention your prints. So in this and the following exercise, we'll be working on the cars data frame. It contains information on the cars per capita and whether people drive right or left for 7 countries in the world. So let me just load the cars data frame from here now. Well, actually, the last data frame we actually loaded was the baseball data frame. If I go under here, I don't have the car. Okay, we have the cars there. I'll just point to the cars data frame right now. Cars.csv. So to do that, I'll just say I'll just copy this code. Scroll down. So rather than saying MLB, I'll just point to cars. So I need to point to the actual file name. As it is the baseball file name. But this time around, this is cars.csv. I'll just change this to car.csv. Cars.csv. If I run the codes, voila. So if I now call on cars now, you can see, so this is the simple data structure that we have here. Just a couple of rows, just 7 rows of data. Pretty straightforward. So I have my cars data frame also. So write a for loop that iterates over the rows of cars, and on each iteration, perform 2 prints. Cause 1 to print out the row label and 1 to print out all of the rows contents. Let me do the cars structure like this. So I'm going to make sure that this row labels, rather than showing 0, 1, 2, 3, is going to be showing, make this column 1 the row label. So all I have to do is just add the keyword index dot column, this keyword to it. So this keyword is going to convert this default row labels 0, 1, 2 numbers to, and make column 1 the row labels. Can you see now? So the column 1 is the row label. So the instruction now says we should write a for loop that iterates over the rows of cars. So you're going to iterate over these rows of cars, and on each iteration, perform 2 prints. The first print is to print out the row label and want to print out all of the rows content. So the first print is going to print out the row labels, and the one is going to print out these 3 rows for us here. Okay, now let's see it in action. To do that, we're going to say, okay, so this is our, so they've imported the data here for us. I'm going for, let me for lab row in. So this time around is going to be in cars. So let's point to the data frame cars dot. So we're going to make use of this it rows function. So it's going to iterate through the rows, comma. Then the first one is going to print lab. So we print the lab, then we'll print the row. Print lab. And the second print is going to be print row. Let's see. Aha. So let me just copy this part of the code here and use it in my. So iterate over rows of cars. Let's see it in action. Aha. But this iterates multiple times. So the first print lab prints the row labels. Let me see. Print out the row labels. You can see print out the row labels for US. This US. So the first print lab. Then the next one print out the content, cars per capita for US, country for US. Then it drives right for US. So that's what this print is doing here. So it goes to the next row, which is Australia. You're going to print out the row labels for Australia, then as well as print out the rows, the content of the rows for Australia. Can you see? So that's what it is doing. So same thing for Japan, India, Russia, Morocco, or Egypt. You can see straightforward there. That's what it loops on data frame. So we learned something there. So let's continue. Correct. Okay, that's simple using it rows function. So loop over data frame 2. So the raw data that's generated, the raw data that is generated by it rows on every row in a panel series. This format is not very convenient to print out. You can see, I agree it's not very convenient to print out. You can see the way it's printed it out. Not really cool. Luckily, you can easily select variables from the panel series using square brackets. Oh, that's cool. So you can actually select each variable, which is each rows from a panel data frame using square bracket that we've learned in a couple of live stream ago. So for lab, rows in bricks, it rows, print row, country. Okay. Now says using the iterators lab and row, adapt the code in the for loops such that the first iteration print out US, then the US, then the class per capita, second iteration print out Australia's, and so on. The output should be in the form of countries, class per capita. Make sure to print out this exact string with the correct spacing. You can use string to convert your integer data to a string so that you can print it in conjunction with the country label. So let's give it a shot. So we want to convert adapt for loop. So rather than printing it out like this, printing out all the rows records, we want to print out this countries per capita, that is the row label and the class per capita column. Just two columns rather. I want to select the first two columns. So to do that, we're going to change this print into a one-line print. So I'm going to say print lab plus. So I'm going to say we should print it like this. Okay. So print lab. So this lab is selecting the row label. So we have our row label selected already. So we need to select this class per capita column for this to work. So I'm going to say print lab, then the space is going to be this is so I'm going to use the square bracket. Oh, not this. Oh, not that. I'm looking for. Oh, I need to change my keyboard to US. I'm looking for that, but it's also be double quotes. Yeah. So once after the lab, which is this row label, I want this hyphen here. So I'm going to use that. Then space. Then it's going to jump to the class per capital column plus row. So our row So which row do you want to select? I want to select this row, this cost per capita row, which is this first row. You can see cost per capita row. I want to select this actual first row here. That's what we want to do there. I'm going to say rows, square brackets. But we know that this row actually is an integer. So I want to print an integer with text. So we need to convert this integer to a string. So that I'm going to write string here, string. Then I'm going to select the cost per capita column, which is this column here. So let's see it's in action. Ooh, there's an error somewhere. I'm missing a step. Oh, I need to close. Oh, I didn't close the brackets. Let's close it now. Ooh, string not integer. Let me see what's my error. So let me explain this error. You can use string to convert your integer data to a string that you can print out in connection with the country label. Okay, you can use the string to convert. I'm actually converting this cost per capita to a string. So do I don't need to wrap it in double quote again? Let's see the error. Let's use the AI editor here to see if we can troubleshoot the error. Let's see, what are we missing? Oh, hold up. Lab plus, okay, plus string. Oh, I'm supposed to bring this. Oh, so my mistake was the row is supposed to come in between this. So this is the row label. Row. I'll convert everything to a string. Oh, correct. Oh, what's the error again? Let's explain the error one more time. Oh, what am I missing? STR row cost per capital. Okay, I'm missing one more bracket. This is the first bracket to convert everything to a string. Uh-oh. What am I missing? Oh, let me calm down. Oh, my bad. I'm not adding a bracket here. So row is my row selection and closing the string function. Yes, I'm closing the string function with this first bracket. And I'm closing the whole function. Okay. Ooh. What's the issue? Oh, come on. I'm just running into different error a couple of minutes now. So let's see this to explain the error again. Print lab plus O. Oh, my bad, my bad. I'm supposed to be wrapping. See my mistake. So I have to be pretty careful. So I'm supposed to be wrapping my square bracket to select the column I want inside this part here. So you probably need to understand where the error is coming from. Oh, okay. Assuming my error is coming from. I'm now having three rather than having two. So this the row is selected from here. So I converted the row to a string. So I can print it with the country lab, Then I closed my whole print function. Better now. Aha, you can see. So this is what was happening here now. So I can just copy this code so you can see it better in Jupyter Notebook here. Let's see. Oh, better you can see. So we have the US. So actually selected only the row label and only one of the columns. If you want multiple columns, I can select the country using this string part of the row here. Interesting. Now let's continue. Let's submit the answer. Oh, we know this after a couple of errors, which is normal. You're probably going to run into errors while trying to write codes multiple times. So that's a good way to practice and see where you are making a simple mistake that could cause your code to return an error. Okay, so add column 1. So in the video, Google showed you how to add the length of the current names of the bricks data frame in a new column. So once you add a new column to our data structure here, so once we create a new column to a data that doesn't have, you just have 1, 2, 3, 4. So once add a new column using a couple of Python code here. So let's see how to do that. So for lab row in bricks, it rows bricks.log lab name length equals to length row. We're adding a new column right here. Name length equals to this. Let's have to do that. So in the video, Google showed you how to add the length of the country names of the bricks data frame in a new column. Okay, you can do similar things on the cars data frame. You said use for loop to add a new column named country that contains a uppercase version of the country names in the country column. You can use the string method upper for this. Okay, I want to use, rather than saying okay, row country, then I want to use the, rather than using length here, so change the function to upper here. Okay, interesting. Code for loop that adds country column. To see if your code work, print out cast. Don't indent this code so that it is not part of the for loop. Okay. Okay, so let's do it first. I could just copy this. Let me just copy this bunch of code here. So our new column is going to be, so rather than saying bricks dot it rows hours is cars. So bricks cars, so it's going to be cars dot lock. We learned all about lock and iLock from a previous live stream. So we'll go check it out to understand what this lock part of the code is doing. So we said lab. So rather than saying lab here, lab, that is the row labels. Then the name of the new column. So rather than saying length, what our new column should be called country. So I'm going to copy this country here. So it will be an uppercase of the country column. Going to be country equals to, rather than saying len, so we don't want to len, we want to convert the country column into an uppercase. I just change this bunch, this len to upper. Then we print cars. Let's see. So we don't want to indent this. So to see if your code work, print out cars. Don't indent this code so that it is not part of the for loop. Okay, we should not indent this. Is this still going to work like that if you don't indent it? Let's see. Oh, so we're going to indent it. Okay, let's see. Let's run the code again. It says upper is not defined. Why do I have to define upper? Oh, okay, let's use the AI to try and troubleshoot it. Okay. Oh, my upper is supposed to come row country dot upper. Will that still work? Hmm. Use it. You can use the string method upper for this. So my upper is supposed to be coming to convert the whole country, this row column into an uppercase. But this bunch of code is telling me to put it row country dot upper. Okay. So if I understand this very well, so it is saying that the error message you are seeing, name upper is not defined, indicate that Python does not recognize upper as a defined function. This is because upper is a method that needs to be called on a string object, not as a standard function. In your code, you are trying to use upper without specifying that it should be called on the string row country. To fix this issue, you need to call upper method on the string itself. So, okay, let's call upper like this, log.lab, rows.country. So I need to get rid of this square brackets here. Okay. Then upper. So it convert that to, let's run the code. It worked fine, but in their own instruction that Ugo did, the length was used there. Why can't I use it same like that? Okay, now let's see though. Let me copy this bunch of code. And now let's see it in Jupyter Notebook. Let's run the code. So we added a new column that converts it to an uppercase. Let me try to use it the way it was used here. Let me see if I try to change it to bring this upper. I think this is the right way to use upper in Python, but I'm not sure. But let me use it the wrong way first and see. Let me grab this upper here. So I'm going to doing this upper part here. Let's see if it's going to work here. Upper. That's invalid syntax at that level there. Okay. That means we're actually wrong there. Okay, so I'll go with this. I'll try to troubleshoot how to use upper in Python later. Great, so we got it. So we created a new column following this method there. Interesting. So finally, this now says, so adding column 2, I think this is the final challenge here. So on using loop on data frame in Python. So using it rows to iterate over every observation of a pandas data frame is easy to understand, but not very efficient. On every iteration, you are creating a new pandas series. Wow, interesting. So on every iteration, on every of this iteration, we are creating this pandas series over and over again, probably 7 times or 1 million times, which is not efficient. So it says if you want to add a column to a data frame by calling a function on another column, the itRows method in combination with for loop is not the preferred way to go. Instead, you want to use apply. Compare the itRows version of the app and with the apply version to get the same result in the bricks data frame. Okay, we should compare it. So this is the for lab, the itRows method, and this is the apply. So the apply even the len has to come after. So the len came at the end here, which is interesting. So we can do similar thing to call the upper method on every name in the country column. However, upper is a method, so we need to slightly different. We need a slightly different approach. Okay, use apply string dot upper. Oh, can see this one says apply dot len. This is apply string. So we're actually converting the this country, which is actually a string dot upper again. Okay. Replace the for loop with a new liner that uses apply dot upper. The call should give the same result. A column country should be added to cars containing an uppercase version of the country names. As usual, print out cars to see the fruits of your hard labor. Let's convert this to, so the end is cars dot lock lab country equals to rows country, row country, which is the row here. So rather than using this method, so we want to change everything to this method here. I'll just copy all of this, Control C, and just paste it here. So rather than using bricks, ours will be cars. This place is going to be cars. Cars. Then our column name is going to be country. So I'll just copy this country here. Country. Then rather than say the length, we're not using the length, we're going to use this apply those upper. Control C. Now let me test it out in Jupyter Notebook first to see this in action. Next, we're going to print it. So it's going to be print cars. Oh, let's see. Voila, we got same results. And this other part, this second line of code is far, far easier and better than this using for loop on data frame. Interesting. So I'll just get rid of all of this and bring this forward. Well, I can see we got the same, exact same results like earlier, which was much more better and interesting. Wow, we did well on applying using for loop on data frames in Python, which is an interesting topic to see here. Now let's submit this. Voila, good job. We nailed it. Oh, that was cool. I think we are moving on to our first case studies. Okay. Case study, which is the ACA statistics. So this chapter will allow you to apply all the concepts you've learned in this course. You will use ACA statistics to calculate your chances of winning a bet, use a random number generator, loop, and match plot competitive edge. Ooh. So I look forward to this. You can see the content of this case study is quite much. So we'll probably be spending 2 or 3 live streams on this concept just to make sure we take our time to solve the challenge with minimal or no error at all. So if you run into an error, we use the AI editor there to solve the error issue. All right, so that will be the end of the live stream for today, and I will see you on the 16th. So if you enjoyed this live stream and learning journey with me and learning Python with me right now, so do well to support the channel by giving this video a thumbs up. Yeah, a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and put on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever I go live or drop a new content on the channel. As usual, do make sure to download the class data file, the CSV files. All CSV files we use following the YouTube description so you can practice in your own Jupyter notebook wherever you're practicing in the world. Do have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you on day 16. Go watch day 1 to 15 if you're just joining us today, so you can understand all what is happening here. I'll see you on the next course. Go watch the next video on the channel too. Bye bye.